Welcome once again to How to Relate to Anyone. Here is Dr. Orv Owens.
Well, welcome back. We're going to do lesson number 2 of a series on living above the line or below the line, decision making, decisions of life. We call it every thought is a decision. The smallest element of thought is a decision. I like it, I don't like it. It's great, it's terrible. And we have total control of that decision-making process. The things you like. There's other people who don't like what you like. And there's people that like what you don't like. I'm not really one of my favorite dishes does not include onions. When I was a boy, my cousin, who was a teenager, and I was 5 or 6 years old, said, "Take a bite of this, it is fantastic." It was a big onion. And I took a big bite of that onion and it knocked the top of my head off, and I haven't eaten onions since. Not that I know of anyway. There's onions buried in other foods, but as far as eating an onion, like some people say, boy, this is the kind of good onions that you just can eat them. I don't think so. Not me. Interesting thing is, one of my sons is like me, he doesn't like onions, and another son puts onions on everything, including sandwiches. So we have taste. We have to make decisions above the line and below the line, and those decisions tend to end up controlling our thought process on a day-to-day basis, person-to-person relationships. And we lock into it. 84% of what we do every day is habitual. In other words, somewhere in our life, we have created a value system that makes that behavior acceptable to us. Might not be acceptable to you, but it's acceptable to me. And what you do might be not acceptable to me, but is to you. And that's the variance and the difference between us. And as you go through different cultures, and even here in the United States, different communities and different areas of the country, different value systems. Well, those values determine what a person will do and will not do, what they will say and will not say, how they will act and how they will react. So we want to look at decision making and how to understand how your mind works so that you can use it rather than abuse it. Because the fact is, most people do more abusive things than useful things as far as attitude and projection of attitudes. So we go back to the diagram that we looked at in our last lesson, and now we're going to put on the diagram the first 5 minutes of meeting somebody new, or meeting somebody even that you know. First 5 minutes of coming in contact with somebody. They are going to make a decision about you in that 5-minute period of time. That's maximum. Sometimes they'll make a decision in 30 seconds, sometimes a couple minutes, but we're going to look at the longest. Studies have shown that we make decisions about people in 5 minutes or less. That's true if you're watching television, if you like the newscaster or not, the weather person or not. We make decisions. I don't like that, I like that. It's above the line and below the line. Above the line is positive, below the line is negative. So we're going to look at a wiggly line, and it goes like this. Time begins at the vertical line. And when time begins, that means when you come in contact with or hear something, see something, you will make a decision about that something. Whether it's a person, a food you eat, a picture you look at, whatever. We are decision-making beings. Every thought is a decision. So on our diagram, we're going to look at what we call rational behavior. Rational behavior is where we make a series of small decisions that move toward a final decision. So on this diagram, you see from where time begins to the first decision is above the line. Now it's not so high above the line that it's wow, it's kind of a yes, that's good. But then, as you see on the diagram, it drops down below the line, and now I'm not sure about that. This also is not way down where it's I hate it. It's I'm just not sure about that. I'm evaluating. I'm kind of trying to determine whether I like it or not, and that I don't like about it. But this I like, and that now I'm back up again. And so I go up and down like a yo-yo. And you do it every day. You do it on every decision you make. It's a series of decisions, and the final decision is based upon which weighs the most. If I have more decisions above the line than below the line, it's acceptable. If it's below the line, more below the line than above the line, not acceptable. And when I meet somebody, and when you meet somebody, you're going to take 5 minutes at maximum to determine whether you can trust them, believe in them, like them, want to spend time with them. All those decisions are made in 5 minutes or less. And as I say, sometimes it's 30 seconds. Some guy comes and blows smoke in your face, you already make a bad decision there. Or if he cusses you out, you probably will be below the line and stay there. But if he's kind and has a nice smile and greets you positively, you'll probably take that as a positive decision about that individual. Now, as a salesperson, what you have to understand is people are making a decision whether they can trust you, believe in your presentation in 5 minutes or less. Hate to tell you this, but if you make a bad first impression, you're done. The most you'll get out of that sales presentation is, well, I'll think about it, I'll let you know. Which means I'm going to break this presentation, stop it right now, put the brakes on, and I'm going to sleep on it. Well, I don't sleep on anything, I stay awake on things. But I am going to mull that in my mind, and if there were more negatives than positives, you won't hear from me. I might not even answer the phone when you call. Don't want to talk to you because I'm not going to buy from you. Has nothing to do with your product, has nothing to do with your service, has nothing to do with your company. The decision I'm making in the first 5 minutes is a decision about you personally. And you need to understand that first impressions are lasting impressions. What I decide about you in the first 5 minutes, it's going to stick. And I'll say to somebody else, he's always smiling. He's always has positive words. He always is great. Or, you don't want to meet that guy, he's bad. He's angry about the world and he takes it out on you. That's all based upon the first 5 minutes of meeting that person. Doesn't make sense, but that's the way it works. So you better understand that. So as a manager, you walk in on Monday morning and, what do we have in our society as titles for Monday? Blue Monday, below the line Monday, have to come to work. That's for people who work at a job rather than a career. In a career, we can hardly wait to go to work. On a job, gotta go, gotta earn the bucks, gotta pay the rent, gotta whatever. And so as a result, as a manager, your people are coming to work with an attitude on Monday morning. And that attitude can be carried over into how they relate to you. And the interesting part about that is you have total control of how they're going to relate to you on Monday morning. And the way you control that is you keep your attitude above the line, and that draws them above the line in the first 5 minutes of meeting you. If they don't come up above the line in the first 5 minutes, then what you have to do is you have to take some time and work with them one-on-one to get them above the line, because they will not be productive. They'll not subordinate if they're below the line. You need to understand that. You will be productive or non-productive based upon what you do in the first 5 minutes every day of the week, every time you meet your employees. Vitally important. Now, we want to go to a second diagram, and in this diagram we're going to look at once the decision has been made, once the 5 minutes has passed, now we're going to be making a sales presentation or a presentation of what we want to accomplish this week in this plant or in this office or whatever. In other words, directives for the week in a management situation, actual sales presentation. Salespeople do not jump into a presentation in 5 minutes. Do not. Get to know the people, ask some questions. Boy, I like your lamp if you're in their home. I like that couch, what a beautiful, or if they're with you and you've met them wherever. I like your tie, I like your suit, I like your whatever. Nice hairdo, where do you get your hair done? That type of thing. Positive statements that cause people to feel accepted by you. Because that's what every person is going to determine in their mind in 5 minutes or less, am I being accepted by this person? Once that's established, if it's above the line, then we can be productive the rest of the way. Now that doesn't mean everything is going to be positive from that point, because as you make your sales presentation or you make your presentation of what you want your employees to accomplish today, there's going to be positives and negatives. So in this diagram, we're looking at the first step above the line. It's just slightly above the line. Here's some goals. Here's some things we want to accomplish today. It's going to take some hard work. Whoops, that's below the line. See how they drop below the line there? But you're going to feel really good when we finish the project above the line. It's going to take a little bit of sweat, a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, maybe a little bit of homework below the line again. But what we're looking for is a high level of productivity, and we can be productive if we cross the T's and dot the I's. And so we're looking for this kind of accomplishment. Now, in any type of presentation, there's going to be positives and negatives. For every thing that they can possibly take negative, you must, as a salesperson, as a manager, as a friend, as a spouse, as a parent, all these relationships, any relationship where you want to be productive, you have to balance out. In other words, for every negative thing, in other words, everything that person takes negatively, you have to turn that around and come back with a positive. So they say, well, I don't like that. Well, let me show you something else. If you could do this, this, and this, can you see how that would be productive or that would reach your goal? Well, yeah. And you do it with questions. Questions open people's minds. Statements can close people's minds. Be careful with statements. If they're below the line, you can't say, yes, but this is the way it is. That's just going to push them further down. What we want to do is ask a question. If somebody says, I don't like that, or you see a little bit of a scowl on their face, or a frown, or they lean back like this, which means, I'm not sure about that. Body language tells you what they're thinking. You can't think something without reacting physically. It's unconscious, but you do it. And if you can read those unconscious reactions, then you can see anytime a person frowns, drops their chin. When they drop their chin, it means yes, but. And they're butting you like a billy goat, butting you. When they drop the chin, they're yes, in a yes, but attitude. When they lean back and fold their arms, I don't think so. If I scowl a little bit, I've got a good scowling face. When I scowl, immediately you should be reading that I'm below the line. You got to get me back up above the line. Now on our diagram, we show the next one is really high. It's way up above the line. The more up above the line, the more positive. So that's a very positive thing. And this person takes this very positively, but then you say, and the price is, whew, really? Now they're way down. See that on the diagram? Way down below the line. That's way too expensive. Whoa, I didn't know it was that much. How do you get them up above that line? Well, we're going to look at another diagram, and it's the same thing, above the line, below the line, below the line, down below the line, but now we've added something, a positive result, a positive statement, a positive that they can build on above the line. This takes some thought. You have to know their value system. You have to know where their values lie. That should have been handled in the first 5 minutes of your presentation. Asking questions that give you feedback on their values. Something I really like and something I don't like at all. I'll tell you all that stuff if you ask the right questions. Well, when you see me as your prospect or me as your employee drop so far down below the line, and on this diagram, that's way down there, you're going to have to work to get me back up, at least back up to the line. Because if you can get me back up to the line, now my mind is open again, and then you can build above that with some positives. And so how do you get me back up to the line? You ask a question. And I keep beating on this, but it's really important you understand. Do not make statements when people are below the line. You'll push them further down. You have to ask questions. Go into a question mode. If I could show you a way that you could, if you could know that, if with a little hard work and a little bit of sweat and energy and a little bit of study, you could get up to this point, would that be something you'd be interested in seeing how you could do that? If you could literally purchase this product, whatever it is, this car, this house, whatever, and know that 1 year from now, the value of this house is going to be this much higher. This is what's been happening over the last 10 years. It's going to go up in value. Can you see how it's going to compensate for any interest you're paying? Make the payments easier knowing that every payment you're making now is going into the plus column in equity. That's what good salesmanship's all about. You have to do the same thing as a manager. If we could do this, this, and this, and we get this kind of productivity, can you see the value of that? I mean, you are paid bonuses for getting this kind of productivity. If you don't offer bonuses, you can't say that, of course. But you're going to get a pat on the back. You're going to get recognition from the president of the company. If we can pull this off, you can build things up in the sky by building value based upon the client's value system, the employee's value system, not yours. I've seen too many real estate people say, you're going to love this living room. And when I do real estate seminars, sales seminars, one of the things I do is I go out with the agents and have them show me a house. And when they walk into the kitchen and say, you're going to love this kitchen, first thing I say is, I don't like it at all. Now, I might like it, but I say that just slap them upside the face because they're making a statement, not seeing what I teach is if you're going to lead them into the kitchen, let them go ahead of you and you watch reactions. If the reaction's positive, build on the positive, whatever they're looking at. If they look out the window and say, wow, what a nice backyard. If they look at the stove and say, wow, that looks like a brand new stove, then you talk about those things that are of most interest and most value to that client. Same thing with employees. If you could know that this is going to move you towards a higher level of productivity, which means raises in pay over a period of time, would that be of interest to you? Questions that open people's minds and build value above the line. That's your job as a manager. That's your job as a salesperson.